Start. So before I start, right, I wanted to share like our vision for what Hangouts is. So Hangouts is an RDI part of Capgemini project that we want to make sure that everyone on the company is comfortable enough to share knowledge, to create this culture of actually sharing knowledge between teams, between people itself. So it doesn't matter the level of the people. It can be an intern, can be a senior manager. They should feel comfortable enough presenting any kind of team that they want to present. If they have maybe like watched a course on YouTube and they want to, oh, hey, I just learned about this subject. I feel that I know enough in order to share knowledge with the whole company. That's great. If they have some knowledge about the product itself, if they have knowledge about like internal stuff, they can also share it with the whole company. We do it via either YouTube or Teams. On the YouTube, we talk about things that are not related, that have any concern with like the company product itself. And if it is related to the company's product, we do it via Teams, so we don't breach any confidentiality protocol. This one, I'm gonna talk, I think I can start, we have already past 2 minutes. So this one I titled The Future of .NET, just to like grab the attention of everyone. I'm not gonna delve into like much complicated stuff. I wanna share knowledge about new development with the .NET community, things that you can look up into it, that I'll demo some stuff, but it should be aimed like I won't like do some advanced stuff. At least I'll try to stick with the basics, because I think like I want to share more about the possibilities of what you can do with .NET and what you will be able to do it, instead of like going to much technical things. I think like senior people can just like use this talk so they can learn about the new upcoming things, and like people that are starting now with the development of .NET can gather like some information about the cool stuff that you can do with it. So I'm gonna now present who I am. I just realized now that I think I have more hair in this picture than I have now, so that's not a good thing, but that's okay. So my name is Pedro, I'm a software developer, and I'm hoping you guys can hear me. Otherwise, Carol, please message me on Teams, but I hope everything's okay, so I'll continue. My name is Pedro, I'm a software developer. I've been with the company over 2 years now. I'm working on the NP transformation project, and I'll be doing the talk today. So again, this talk, I'll talk a little bit about the .NET history, where we were, where we are right now, and I'll demo some cool stuff. Again, this will be aimed like for if you're just joining .NET, if you have a little more background already, what new cool stuff you can do with it. So just like a quick recap, I'm gonna like go through these slides quickly, because I think the best thing in this presentation, it won't be long, but like I think the thing that everyone can get more from it will be the demo itself. So what we have, like what we had previously, right? We had like multiple .NET versions, we had like the C#, and each version like used different, each .NET version used different C# version. We had like multiple runtimes for, if you developed something, let's say for example on Windows, you would use, for example, the .NET framework. If you used like, if you want to develop something on Linux or the mobile development, you had to use a different environment, a different runtime. And then they decided, okay, let's create the .NET Core, part of the .NET framework, no, the .NET environment, that you were able to develop do the development on Linux and Mac. So, but while they were developing the .NET Core, they still had to maintain the .NET framework. So they had like this weird, we still have, right? But we have like this weird phase that we still have the .NET framework active on multiple projects. We still have the .NET Core being developed, and they created the .NET standard to like kind of like be a bridge between those two worlds. So like if you develop it on .NET standard, you could use it on core and on framework. So we had this kind of mess, right? You had like, if I wanted to develop something on .NET, I would first need to study, okay, do I want to develop something for web, but then I discovered, oh no, I want to develop also on mobile, so I had to learn like other environment, other things. So this is the past, and where they're moving forward to is what they call like just .NET. So we are transitioning from like those multiple runtimes, multiple like environments, and we are transitioning into the .NET. It's what they call like the unified platform. So as we had like here, we all started with the .NET framework. So we had like the 3.5, like it went until like the 4 point whatever, and they had like the .NET Core, which had like the notation was 2, 3. It stopped at 3, but like they decided to not make a confusion again with the numbering. They decided, okay, the .NET framework didn't went further than 4, and the .NET Core didn't go further than 3. So with our new unified platform, let's start with 5. So we haven't had like the .NET unified platform 1.0. It started 0.5. But they decided to do that to try to avoid confusion. I don't think it will work, but like that was their decision. So we have the .NET platform, a unified platform, and their goal is to have like a unified way of developing on desktop, on web, on cloud. So instead of having like, oh, I'm a .NET developer that develops, for example, Xamarin, that's aimed for mobile, and when you were doing like your application, you're gonna say, oh, but this job is, for example, for web. Oh no, I don't know how to do the web development on .NET. They're trying to create this platform where if you say, okay, I'm a .NET developer, so you will be able to do the mobile development, you'll be able to do desktop, you'll be able to do, you'll be able to develop games. So this is their goal, right? They won't have like this confusion, and especially for newcomers, it's hard because, for example, if you're developing with Python, you only have Python, right? The Python it's evolving, but they only have like one. You don't need to worry about like what kind of development and then decides which Python you will use, guys. You use, right? So I think like their goal is to standardize and go with only one .NET. So this is, I stole this slide from them. I will post the reference later, but like it will still be on top of the .NET standard library. Their infrastructure will be like we still have compilers. We still use the same C# language. Their tools will be the same, but now again you will only have to use one environment in order to develop all those kinds of platforms. I created here just to summarize like where we are. So on December 19, 2019, they delivered the .NET Core 3.0, 3.1, the long-term, it will be the version that with long-term support. So this is the version of the last version of .NET Core that they will like give support for a long time. I don't know how long, but like it's a stable version and they will for many years give support to them. But on November 2020, they will like they had already, right? They had already like said, okay, we delivered the .NET 5, and on 1 year on November, like this year, they will deliver another long-term support on .NET 6, and their schedule will be each year they will increment the major number of the .NET, and every other year they will consider that version long-term support. Because I think their goal here is, okay, we had all those, coming back here, we had to give long-term support for .NET framework versions, we had to give support to .NET Core versions. So in the future, we won't like give support to all those kinds of different versions. We will stick one version on November of the .NET platform, and we will do long-term support to that, and we will continue with this flow. Together with the .NET environment came like new exciting technologies. Some are already done, some are like being developed right now and not ready to use. I'll be talking about some of them, not all of them. I'll be trying to demo the ones that I think are easier to pick up. For example, I will be talking about C# 9.0, and I'll try to like give you guys like some cool features that they are introducing. That again, I won't go in very truly on everything that C#, for example, the C# 9.0 is offering. I'm gonna suggest like, okay, you're new to the C#, you're new on C# 9 development, for example. What cool things can you do with this new version of the language that you couldn't do with the old ones, right? So can either be like, oh, I want to update myself with the knowledge that I have, or I, for example, am a QA that want to learn C# to make my life easier. Okay, I should probably start with the newer version. What can I do with this new version, right? So I'm also going to talk a little about Blazor and progressive web apps. Blazor is a way of doing web development with C#, which I think is really cool. It's still like, it's really young. So comparing with JavaScript and other types of developing for web, it lacks some support, but like it has its advantages. I'm gonna talk a little bit about OpenAPI. I'm not sure if I'm gonna talk a little bit about gRPC, but like those topics like OpenAPI, Docker support, I'm gonna talk a little bit about Tye, but I wanna I put those topics here to exemplify things that the C# community is moving forward. So previously we had like this C#, right now, right? C# is not considered like the most modern languages of all, like comparing like them to Ruby, comparing them to Python. It's not like it's like modern, it's like not the cool stuff to do development in C#, but I think like the .NET community is making an effort to make it so that C# and the .NET environment itself competes against like all those modern languages and modern stacks. So for example, the OpenAPI project is a really modern way of developing and documenting APIs, and the .NET environment offers a good way to support. It offers really good Docker support for your projects. I'm gonna show Tye, which is a project that I found really cool, and I think it can really help developing microservices individually. And I put it here as slide of .NET MAUI. I wasn't able to actually, I tried demoing it, but since it's really on preview and it's more like the cool features are related to mobile itself, like my machine wasn't able to to handle the mobile development, but I just wanted to point here because I think like it's a really cool effort. If you guys have already touched Xamarin and Xamarin Forms, it's the evolution of Xamarin Forms from what I could understand. So their goal is, let's say, for example, you want to develop something that should be on desktop, it should be on iOS, Android, and Mac. You could, like, before that, you had to like deal with multiple ways of defining your user interface. And now you will have MAUI, I think it's multiple app unified platform, some UI platform, something like that. I forgot the acronym. But like it's a way of developing multiple targeting UI on multiple platforms. So it's still on preview. It will be released, I think, on beta the next year, together with .NET 6. But I think it's a cool topic to say that will be coming. So this is it from like what I want to like to give an example. I'll be moving forward to the demo. I'll be demoing some stuffs. I think I should remove, just a second. I will remove okay, so now you can see my whole screen, and the code itself doesn't get bothered by my face. So I think the really cool thing that I want to like introduce is like how easy it is right now to getting into .NET, because most people are used to, okay, I wanna do a course on C#, I wanna do some C# development. So they would start Visual Studio, and it like their machine would froze because like it's a really heavy program, and they would have like this really big IDE that had all those buttons that you don't know what to do, and just click start, and magically like a console appears, and it was really hard to understand what was happening. And comparing again, let's try and compare again with the quote unquote most modern languages, like what's hip right now, right? If you compare it to Python, introducing Python to someone is way easier because you just say, oh, type this stuff on the command line, and it targets like some file, and the project itself you run, and you don't have all those boilerplate codes and all those configurations that C# and the .NET framework, for example, has, that it's required for running environments. So I think that one of the coolest things that they are introducing and improving upon is the .NET CLI. So if we type like .NET here, and again, you will need the .NET, I'm using the .NET CLI version 5 point something. To like, if you want to later do the same thing that I'm doing, you should probably install the latest .NET runtime and .NET CLI version. And you can do it via their website. So the .NET CLI is a way of creating, running, building, and doing like all the stuff that you do via Visual Studio. You can do it. You could already do it via CLI or via the command interface, but I think like they're making it easier for people to get into the .NET world, right? So I think we can run the .NET help. You can see like there are multiple commands. So as I said, like you can now build projects, you can publish them. But I think the coolest thing here is the .new command. So if we type .NET new, you will see here a list of already like templates of projects that will help you get started with .NET. So for example, if you want to create a console application, you could, I'm going to go through it, but like there are multiple types of other applications. For example, I want to create an application with C# that uses React, right? You could, I don't know, go to Google and grab a template for them, but the .CLI is now offering like already made templates and templates that just work out of the box so you can develop them. So if I type .NET new, it's console, I'm gonna name it console app. And again, I'm gonna do this live. Hopefully it will work out, but sometimes we'll probably have an error. It froze. It should be faster. Great. Didn't create anything. Let's run it again. I typed it wrong, maybe. No, it should work. Okay, .NET new console. Let's just try to create a new console application without specifying the name. Awesome, it works. So what we have here, and I'm gonna put it, I don't know why did it work on previously, so like, let's call it console app and just move all those files here. Okay, so now we created a console app with their template files, and if we go to our console app and open, I'm gonna open in Visual Studio Code because it's way lighter and we can see the code here. So what this command made, like it created a single file with like which represents our console application in C#, and that's it, right? Comparing like opening in Visual Studio, I think it's way easier visualizing like what the console app is, right? So we have here like, yeah, and we are able to run it without going into Visual Studio and without going into all the hassle of like downloading and installing the IDE, right? So if we type .NET run, it will build the project and run it on our console. Okay, close it. Awesome. So now we have like, that's pretty basic, right? You could already done this by using like you could already do this using the Visual Studio. So now things will get a little more interesting. I'll go through, for example, some features that C# 9.0 is offering, and my favorite of them is like top-level programming. For example, if you're developing in Python, in JavaScript, or other languages, you don't need, for example, to define a namespace, to define a class, to define like a method. And I think that's really confusing for people that are coming now to the language that they want to, okay, they start asking questions, right? So why do I need a namespace? Why do I need this class? What this method represents? So what C# 9.0 is offering right now, it's what they call top-level programming, and they are removing the necessity of having all this boilerplate code. So again, if we save this file and run it again, we will be able to, awesome, it compiles and it works. So we don't need anymore, like you can if you want to, but you don't need anymore to have all these classes, programs and stuff. You can create your programs the same way, like on a more quicker way to do it. And for example, you still have all the power that you had previously. So if you want to grab arguments from the command line, so for example, I want to pass an argument to say to whom I'm saying hello to, you can do .NET run hello Pedro, and now you can grab the arguments from the command line itself. What else? And really quickly, like if you wanna also like, and there's no, the message that I'm trying to say, you're not losing anything by using the top level programming. You can still, for example, do like something, if you wanna So right line, say for example, I want to create a function that now prints into the screen, and I want to use it on my program itself. So I don't want to write console write line. I just wanted to write print hello Pedro. Again, you are able to use functions. You can also use classes. So for example, I want to define a class person with like maybe a name and an age. Maybe I typed it wrong. Class string name int age. Oh, maybe here they have like some top level statements proceed namespace. Oh, sorry. Maybe it's like that. No, it's not like that. No. Should work. Why it isn't working? Declaration is not allowed. Maybe I should remove this. Well, you can. I'm trying to remember yesterday what. Oh, I remember. I don't need. I need to specify not in the constructor. So let's create a property, string name. Okay, another property, int age, and the person. We should be this namespace directly. Okay, I don't remember why it isn't working, but sorry, it should work. Like, we can define all the same things, like you can import other files, you can use classes the same way that you do it. I haven't written down this, I'm doing it live, so I don't remember why it isn't working, but you should be able to do it, and I can figure it out later. Other things that they are introducing is what they call records, which is like a cool thing that I found out. So when we were dealing with classes, we were instantiating new objects and saving them into memory, which made comparing objects, for example, a really hard thing to do, because you wasn't able to compare them. If you tried comparing, let's say for example, you tried comparing two persons that had the name Pedro, and you created a class person, and even though they had the same name, when you tried comparing them, it wasn't like, it would return that they weren't the same object, even though like they had the same properties, because like it was comparing like the position in memory that they were, so they were different objects even though they had like the same properties. So I'll try and do it again. Sorry, it's class person. Please work. No, class person. Oh, now it works. I don't know why. String name. I have no idea what I did differently, but thank God it's working. So, age. I don't remember what I did different, but okay, now we have classes. So let's say, for example, I'm creating a new person. Let's call it equal new person, and let's give him a name. Let's call him Pedro, and let's give him an age of 27. Awesome, right? So if we had like those two persons, P1, P2, even though they were like the same object, like they had the same properties, if we compare them, like, are those two objects the same? And we did something like for P2 equals P1, right? If we execute this, it will return false. Oh no, without the Pedro argument. Because like it's not comparing like the properties of the object itself. So now C# they introduce like what they call records, and records are like, it's not a different type of object, like it by the intermediate language it will still be a class, but something like a syntax sugar in order to create like immutable objects. So if we create a record, let's remove like this class person, and let's remove those two objects. So let's create another now a record called person that we receive a string like name and int age, right? It's an easier way of defining those types of structures. And now we can do it like person P1 equals new person with like the name Pedro and the age 27. And again, we can define the P2 object, and now they are the same. And why are they the same? Because behind how C# works, it will compile it into even before compile, on the intermediate language, it will be made in a way that those two objects are, when compared, are equal. And they also have a prettier toString object, and way to print it. So if you do something like that, it will be easier to see what the object really is. So again, they're moving forward in a way that newcomers and things that are easier on other languages are now easier to do on C# as well. So I think, let me think. I think that was it that I had from the C# language itself. I'm gonna move forward on to different projects. So we had for example, I showed an example of a console application. Let's say, for example, I want to create a different kind of application. I would go again into .NET new, .NET new, and again, it would appear we have here a list of types of applications that we can create. I'm going to create, let's say, for example, I want to make a web API, and hopefully the name of the project, I'll be able to do the name of the project right now. So I'll go again with .NET new web API. I'll put it the name as web API. No. Maybe something like API app. Let's see if it will work now. Otherwise, awesome. I don't know again why last time didn't work, but if we go again, the same way that we created, where did I create? Oh, I created on the wrong. Okay. Demo. The same way that we were able to create a console application with the command line, we were now able to create a full API, a full quote-unquote server that serves data with just one command line, right? If so, again, let's close this one. If we go to our API app, let's run it first. .NET run to see what will happen. I can also, let's open different console. And just open it on Visual Studio Code so I can talk a little bit about the API itself. So what we created now, Visual Studio, they gave us all this code that says, okay, you want to create a quick API to just see how it works, see how you would serve, for example, create an endpoint to serve some data to other service that is running. So for example, let's say for example, you have an UI somewhere that will make an HTTP call to some service. That service was, for example, previously written on Node.js, and you want to transition into a C# environment. So how would you go and start the development of an API itself? With the .NET new command, they create a simple project that, again, now it's a little bit more complex than the console application, but it just it gives you the bare minimum and show you how you would improve on how you would increase the complexity of the project, right? So we have here what we call the controllers, where we define our endpoints, and when we created and we ran this project, it's saying okay, it's now listening on this localhost port 5001. So for example, if we grab this link and go to, I have it here, awesome, to the Swagger, they are already giving you a project ready to use, and with a working API already integrated with Swagger, with it's a common standard in order to document your API development. So they're saying, okay, you want to develop an API, here are the best practices that the market itself agrees upon, and we have already given you inside the command line command, right? So I won't go really further in what Swagger is, because I think we will have a different hangouts about it, but simply put, is a way that you can explore and better visualize what your API is. So, and for those you don't know what API is trying to think in a way that's a way to give data to other people. So let's say, for example, when I ran the console application, I just ran it and executed the code, and that's it. The API, I'm starting the server, okay, so it's still running, I haven't closed the server, and then when I'm able, when I call certain URLs. Like when I make HTTP requests, like we can be like with different verbs, like we can do like a get request, a post request. When you do those kind of requests, it will execute or give you data. So on the example that they give you, they saying, okay, we have like this weather forecast controller, and they're saying, okay, when you do like / weather forecast, you will like retrieve some data. And like every time that you add a new API, let's say for example, I wanna like get some weather forecast, I wanna get all the names of all the possible names for my dog. You can create all those kinds of requests to the server, and everything will be documented here without having like to create this web page and everything, right? It's a way to share what your server provides, what functions it provides to other people, so they can easily understand. And you can also like you can also like test the application here. So for example, if I click here, try, and I execute it, and it executes here on the browser itself, and also gives me the link. Okay, let's say for example, I want to call it on my code. Which URL should I call it, right? Because if I just paste it here, it will call like it's calling the API and doing the request, and it's calling like it's reaching out here and doing the logic behind, and it's getting me some weather forecasts. And all this documentation that was created by Swagger, like if we let's hopefully it will work this time. I don't know. Let's try and do something like that. So this will be my first endpoint, and this will be my second endpoint. So this would, for example, again, this should be something like this, and this will return just my name, right? So what have I done? Like I created a different function that my code can execute, and I'll close it and execute it again, .NET run, without going through Visual Studio, stopping the application. Like it's way quicker to do it here. So if I refresh this page, I will have like, awesome, I have like now two functions that my code can serve to someone. I have like my first endpoint, which is like this weather function that they gave you as an example, but I also have like my second endpoint here, see? So if I try it out and execute it, it will return like Pedro, and like I can call it here, like it says like how can you, here, and it can say like how you can use it like with a curl command on the command line also. So like what I'm trying to say is like it's a cool way, like it already gives you standards to development, like the correct way on doing. It gives you like a way to further expand your project, because like when you're learning and when you're trying to get into the new cool features of the language, you don't necessarily need to do like a really complex project. You just want to learn like, okay, if I'm developing an API, how should I start, right? You can like start reading the documentation and like pasting copy and pasting the code, but the .NET CLI already gives you a way to start, and a way that already is more powerful that you will have like by doing yourself. So the third, I think that's it. I think it's better if I talk about the other project. The third project that I wanna show by creating with, and it's the last one, by using the .NET new .NET new command, is a Blazor application. Blazor is a new way, I think it's on the PowerPoint, hopefully it is. Yeah, it's have this logo. It's a new way of doing web development, because currently right now the most popular way is, okay, you have your backend application that can be written in Ruby, can be written in C#, Java, but when doing UI development, the most common way of doing it is actually doing with HTML, JavaScript, and CSS, and you have like multiple frameworks in order to help you to do it. Sorry. For example, you can do it via Vue.js, you can do it via Angular, which are like JavaScript, TypeScript ways of actually executing actions on your UI, right? So what Blazor came to do is like they're offering a new way. So because like we have like the HTML, which is just the structure of the code, we have the CSS, which is like how the code looks and how pretty it will be, but like the heavy lifting and where like most people get stuck when doing web development is like, okay, I know, like for example, I'm able to create this API and I'm able to develop, I'm comfortable doing C# development, but when they move it into the web, they, oh no, but now I need to learn JavaScript, and JavaScript is messier, and we have like all those different kinds of frameworks that every project starts using one, and I tried learning one, and the other project uses another. So what Blazor is a way of doing web development without actually having to learn JavaScript. So I'm gonna create the app now and stop talking. So I'm trying to remember. It's Blazor. Yeah, I think it's WebAssembly. So it's .NET, again, same command, right? .NET new Blazor WebAssembly. I'm gonna try and give it a name, Blazor app, and here, and let's give it a flag P that will make sense later. Awesome. I don't know why the first time failed. So let's go and open this project. Let's go to my Blazor app and do a .NET run. I should have opened it first, but it's okay. I can open here. Blazor app. Let's open on Visual Studio Code. Awesome. So now I started an application, which is a web application, right? We have an UI that's completely done without the usage of the JavaScript. So what Blazor does, and to make it simple, it uses its C# and transform it into WebAssembly, which is like a different way that the browser itself can act. So here, like, you have, like, again, it's the same concept as the API, right? They gave you like a simple example with functionalities that you will probably want, and they gave you like the best way to expand upon. So for example, here we have like the simple hello world, and let's say I have a counter on my page that I want to increase whenever I click it, and if I click it, the counter increases. If I want to like fetch data from somewhere and put it on the table, they use the same weather forecast like example. They say, okay, this is how you fetch data, for example, an API that you created with ASP.NET Core. And let's go into the code. I think this is really interesting for people that don't want to learn JavaScript, me included. So what we have here, let's start with like the counter example, which I think is really simple. What we have here is like, we still have all those, like, for example, we have, where is it? Here. We have like some CSS, we have like the basic HTML, we were not able to run it for me yet, but I think like the best thing that we want to highlight is like, we are not dependent on JavaScript anymore. You can still call JavaScript functions, you can interlope them in order to make some JavaScript calls that's still not supported by Razor or by Blazor itself. But what we have here is like this new type of file. It's not that new, but like we have this type of file called Razor file, which we define like both the structure, the functionality, and if we want the style on it, we can separate it into multiple files, but we work with small components sometimes, so we can like put everything that's related to that component on that file. So I'll go back and forth. So here we have like, we are saying, okay, this file will define the page/counter. Okay, we are on the page/counter. We have like an h1 tag, which says, okay, this is the counter. We have like a p tag with the current count pointing to like an @current count, like it's a special Razor notation that I'll go further into it. And okay, we have a button here that has a now-click action. And okay, this, if we exclude this part of the code, if we just have here, you would say, okay, this is really similar. For example, if I have an Angular application, if I have just plain JavaScript, and I'm writing, okay, I have like, when I click this button, I do this variable will be rendered like this. But what Blazor offers is like, we can write the logic that will run on the browser itself with C#. So here, the code that we have here is pure C#. Like, it doesn't, like, it's not different from the C# that you used in order to create the API itself. So what it is saying here, okay, this is how we define this component on this page. And here we have like the code that will run on this component. So here, like, we have a variable, for example, it's the current count of the counter itself, and we are initializing it at 0. And we have a function here that whenever someone's calls it, it will increase the counter by 1. And a really cool thing that now people take for granted, but like if you have done some web development and you had to do like those what they call like the data bindings, and you had to use observables, and like because and you even though like if you did development with Ajax, like if you wanted to increase the number on your code and reflect it on the web page itself, like now people take for granted, but like it wasn't that simple to do those kind of data bindings, right? You had to use like either observables, or like you had to use like a full framework to do these data bindings for you. And now Razor comes that with already made, right? So like whenever we increment this private here, you can like create a different method that increases by 2, for example. This variable here will be automatically updated. So we have like a full website like that's dynamic, like it's a single page app that like updates itself, like, and everything, all the logic itself, it's done with C#. Again, the fetch data, like I think like this is a cool example to demonstrate. We have like here the HTTP client, and it's the same HTTP client that you will write, for example, on a console application, on a server, on a web API. See here we have like the system.net HTTP client. So we are using like C# code on the client and on the server, the same way that Node.js tried to revolutionize the industry, having the same code on the back end and in the front end, and you gain a lot of popularity by doing so. Razor and Blazor are trying to do the same way with C#. So now, in order to do web development, you won't need to learn JavaScript itself. You will be able to do this kind of web development with the C# language. And here, like, just going through again, we have like the same H1 tags. We have like those special ifs statements. So this is still the structure of the page. This is still the HTML of the page, but we are able to do like some if analysis on the page. So like, for example, if the forecast, which is a variable defined here on the code side of the thing, if it's null, do something else, do something else. So like we start gaining this power that, like, for example, some web development frameworks offer, like those if, else, like this code logic inside the HTML itself. So like here this code does like if the forecast is null, put a tag that is loading, else renders a table with like we have a for each, like same like we have an if and else, we have like a for each inside of our HTML. And here we are using the HTTP client that we got from the .NET platform itself, and we are doing like a GET request from it, right? So again, the same code that you could write, the same code that you did here on a console application, we would still like write it the same way. Let me think if I can share something else. Here's the counter. Now here's this index. The main thing about the Blazor platform, it's still new, it's still under development. Like it doesn't offer you like the same level of complexity that you can reach easily right now with other JavaScript frameworks, but it's actually being development. It's actually on development, and also they are targeting Blazor to desktop. It's still not even on preview, but they say like next year you will be able to do UI development that will work on web, that you will also be able to export it into the desktop. Because like imagine being able to do UI development using HTML and using C# and run it on the desktop itself. Right now, we are able to do it something like this, which is called like the progressive web apps, which like, it's kind of cheating. Like you can install, quote unquote, install this application on your desktop. It's not really installing, but like gives a more native look. So if we have here, like we have like a shortcut and everything, it looks like a desktop application, right? We have like the tab and everything, but it still depends on a web server running and providing that data. But like it's already cool that you can do that, because like you developed something that works on the web and you can tell someone, oh, just download this progressive web app and run it on your application, and the user or the client itself doesn't need to know that this is a web application behind, right? They think they can easily think this is a desktop application. But Blazor itself will make it go further and create like real native applications doing this kind, using the Blazor language, which I think is cool. So, okay, this was about Blazor. Let me think if I want to say something else. No, I guess I think the last thing that I wanted to show you is the one that I put it here. Yeah, Tye. So what Tye is, it's a new project. Like it's still under development. It's still really early. So like it's not. I don't think it's. I think they said that it's not even production ready. But like sometimes when, let's say for example, you're developing an UI in Blazor and you are developing an API that will serve that data to your Blazor UI in C Sharp, ASP.NET Core, not C Sharp.NET as well. And every time that you wanna, let's say for example, okay, I wanna test something on the UI, so I need to start. So for example, you would go to the project and you run .NET run on your Blazor app, and you go to a different console and you go like, okay, so I want to go to my UI, so it's my API app, and you would run it again and you do some changes and you have to close it and start again. And okay, I need to worry about cores, I need to worry about like the port between them, the communication between them. And Tye, it's like it's focused on the development of microservices, and like it makes easier for the user itself to start multiple applications without having like to start multiple commands by hand, right? Because like when you're developing those microservices, or even like developing small applications that need to be started, like maybe you can create a bat file that starts all of them. Like you can like have a bat file to start, a bat file to close, and you have like, but you start to doing like you start like to create those tools just to start your application. And Tye is exactly like that. And let's see if it will work, because some stuff is not been working right now. So again, Tye works by starting all the applications that you insert in a solution. It works well with the .NET solution file. So I haven't created one. So here I have all my 3 applications. I have an API, I have a Blazor, and I have a console app. So let's say, for example, my project delivers all of 3 of them together in a microservice style, right? So I would first need to create a .NET, I think it's new solution, hopefully it's like that name, let's give it my application solution. It's correct? Yes, it's correct. Awesome. So now I created my solution, but I haven't put my projects into it. So, and again, I don't need to use Visual Studio or anything to do those kind of things. Solution add, let's first add the API CS project. Awesome. So I'm adding first the API project, and now I'm gonna add the console app, what's the name? Demo. I don't know. It's this project, and I'm gonna now add my Blazor app CS project. So now I have my solution with those 3 projects, those 3 CS projects inside of it, right? If we open here we have, should be awesome. Here have the project, the API project, the console app project, and the Blazor app project. So now what Tye does, it makes it easier in order to start and stop and like have the output of those 3 projects. So if I do Tye init, it will create a YAML file defining which projects I'm targeting. So I'm targeting my app solution with those 3 projects. And when I do Tye run, hopefully it will work. Launching, awesome. Now it creates like, it started the 3 applications, and it also provides me a dashboard. So now what I have here is like what they call like the Tye dashboard. And I can easily say, let's say for example, my application have like 8 APIs running all conceptually, right? So I have like and I also need to have a console application that's running my legacy code, and I have like a Python application running that. I don't know if Python is supported by Tye, but like you get the picture, right? You have multiple applications, and I wanted to see the log of them, but I don't want to implement a logger yet. I wanted to see them separately, and I want to have like the APIs, and I want to do the server discovery between them Tye is aimed to handle all those kind of things, the integration between them. Tye can handle like the server discovery, like handling the parts of the project. It shows like here the logs. So here we have our console application that keeps running over and over again when it ends. But like it's saying hello Pedro, it's printing the person. Again, we have like this is the API, right? Yeah, it's the API. So we can go to the Swagger. We have like the same API that we started using the Swagger, and we can call like it's running, right? We can call the application and it works. We have like the Blazor app, which I think is on port. It doesn't. It's on this part. It is. Yes, it is. So we have like all those three applications now are running together and tied up. I think that's where the name came from. It's tied up via Tye. So this is like it's still in development. I think like I don't think like it's production ready yet, but like I think it shows how Microsoft and how like the .NET community is considering like this new type of developing new applications, and they don't want you like, okay, we are developing multiple microservices and we need to like, we're gonna develop them our own way and we're gonna start them our own way. No, they're saying they're providing the people tools in order so they can develop them with best practices, and if everyone like is doing same things this like in more like the same way, not exactly the same way, but like more similar way, they will have a easier way of like developing and having a community. So let me just check the PowerPoint, see if I forgot something. I think that was everything that I wanted to talk about. I managed to stay like under 1 hour, which was my goal. I can open like for 10 minutes for questions. I don't know. But the chat is here, right? Yeah. Oh, sorry. I don't know if someone has any questions or like someone have anything they want to point out, but I can stay for like 10 minutes to talk. If not, like we can have this discussion. Awesome. So for me that was it. I think like my goal like wasn't go too much into all the topics that I gave. It was just give like a general overview of like cool exciting stuff that's coming with the .NET environment and .NET community, and hopefully I was able to share my view with you. And I have no idea how to stop this, so Carol, if you could help me to stop this recording and everything. I don't know if I can just stop it via the OBS. And she's not responding me. I will stop with the OBS thing.